I have been taking a internet break for the time being. I have been really stressed about several things in my life right now, and being on social media isn't really helping. While I've been alone in my place right now enjoying myself, I have not been able to stop thinking about the Gregory horror show. A while ago, a friend wanted me to see the first season with them. It happened after a major realization I had had, and it felt super surreal and just uncomfortable to watch. My life is a giant prank show, and every time major harm is about to happen to my sense of self about something really terribly unfunny happens, and it keeps me on the right path. In this video, I will be over analyzing the Gregory horror show. If you haven't watched the Gregory horror show, please watch it, for this video will contain major spoilers. Not my fault, it ruins the show for you. This show I thought was a really cool idea, but I am disappointed by the fact that its execution just wasn't that great. It talked about a lot of stuff that I do talk about on a regular basis, and I just didn't really care too much about it for those reasons. It just wasn't really a surprise. And for example, you can argue that the show was a giant dream of the main protagonist, and since I love doing dream interpretations, it did feel really simple. It's not to say that the show is a dream though, because I heavily suspect it could go either way, but I do genuinely believe a lot of the symbolism and a lot of pretty much everything going on does heavily imply that it is a dream. If you want to learn more of what I am talking about, I do have information about this in my lucid dreaming video on my channel. The Gregory horror show is a Japanese 3D CGI cartoon made in the late 90s and early 2000s. The show ended in 2006 and was created in 1999. The easiest way to describe the show is it's just literally tween horror, similar to Goosebumps, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and arguably the first two seasons of the original Scooby-Doo for the time. Each episode is only a few minutes long, and the entire first season is about an hour in length. I believe the average episode time was 3.5 minutes. I also wanted to clear up the fact that I've only seen the entire first season. I haven't watched the other seasons because I want that to be a surprise when I do future videos about that. This video is hyper-analyzing the first season, and the other seasons can spoil too much plot, and I just don't want to incorporate that in the video. The show is basically a giant trip into somebody's subconscious. That person I highly suspect is probably Walt Disney himself. Gregory feels like a Mickey Mouse style character, with the whole show being very symbolic for that. The first few episodes of the show features a nameless main protagonist wandering through the woods to find a hotel. He stays at the hotel to escape fears of everything surrounding the hotel. Through the process of finding security inside the hotel, he encounters a character named Gregory. I really don't know the name of the protagonist. I don't think it ever gets said in the first season to my knowledge. Gregory is the horrifying, abusive, narcissistic main character of the series. The main protagonist, in my opinion, is not actually the main character. I believe they did this for reasons related to the plot. If Gregory was telling the whole story the whole time, it would be too obvious and too boring to watch. The protagonist doesn't really have a personality of any kind. Most of the show does feel like they're talking down to him, like Dora the Explorer essentially does. He enters the hotel, and it gets said,
"You'll want to keep this closed, my friend." And if you must open that, be prepared for the consequences. Ah, you've decided not to. I think that's a wise choice. There's just one other little thing. Do not under any circumstances go peeking into the other rooms. It's for your own good. Trust me.
Yeah, that's lovely. There is Judgment Boy, who is the character that is the embodiment of truth and honesty, starts to roam the hallway during this time frame. He is the only character that really knows anything and is willing to share it to the protagonist undiscriminatively. Most characters do not do that at all at any given moment. If they do it, it's usually at a cost. So a cat starts to make their appearance known around this point. The cat has Jack Ketch on her shirt, who I believe is Jack Ketch from 17th century England, and is also inside Shakespeare and does contain a lot of historical significance. This cat, whose name is Neko Zombie, is embodiment of silent fear of the unknown. The cat doesn't necessarily lie, but they don't really say much, especially when it is needed. The cat will be of major relevance later on in the show. It is explained that their mouths and eyes are sewn shut by most likely Gregory himself. There is a character that gets introduced after this who's basically just a little child. She is a doll looking for a doll that she cannot find. She is terrifying the main protagonist because she cannot find the doll. She doesn't realize she is the doll that she is looking for. She is basically symbolic for false awakenings or dreams within a dream. I believe that is foreshadowing something specific. I'm just not fully sure which they are foreshadowing with this entirely. In the next few episodes, it gets explained that he is being forcibly served soup that is very bloody. The soup contains a gold filling from another character that it was made from. Blood being a representation of one's own vitality. The gold fillings being a metaphor for feelings of self-worth. The character faints and goes unconscious. Gregory then watches as the main protagonist is on the ground to simmer as he gets drenched by the poisonous soup he was just served. A pink female snake doctor then appears to try taking his blood out of his body. She's acting really horny and gross as she's trying to remove his blood. She's a seductive and lovely weapon that fear is essentially. You are easier to control when you are afraid. Fear is a manipulation tactic for many reasons. He goes unconscious, but it is told she took too much blood from him as a result of her going on a horny rampage. Gregory wants him to be hurt but not dead for several reasons that do get explained. There are two characters that get introduced next, but they have generational head suffering that was inflicted by the doctor herself. It is implied that Gregory and the main protagonist have same issues as well. Nobody but the doctor seems to have any head trauma in this scene. Judgment Boy appears in the following scene. He asks,
"You're a businessman. Today you will sign a major contract that will change your life. But your girlfriend who you love has just been hit by a car. If you go to the hospital, you'll lose that contract. Now, which will you choose? Judgment now!"
we find that the protagonist chose to follow through a business plan as his girlfriend essentially dies alone. Gregory then appears as a symbolic gesture to that decision. The next scene contains a Mexican cowboy lizard wants to have a duel with the protagonist. Gregory shows up to be the judge of the duel. Gregory accidentally gets shot by the lizard. Then Gregory gets a gun and starts shooting the lizard. I think the lizard is representing protection of the protagonist, but I am not too sure what the lizard was supposed to mean here fully. Gregory shooting the lizard back represents the protagonist's ego trying to fight back and not have their ego get shot down. We start to learn that the protagonist is losing their memories. We see a bioluminescent fish with a TV on its head. Bioluminescent deep sea fish represent the unknown. The TV on the fish's head represents the protagonist's view of his waking life. Gregory cable subscription service that was on the TV is literally a representation of his innermost desire to remember himself. Eventually, we learned that he actually has a cell phone this whole time on him that he could have used to call his family on. He sees the cat, Neko Zombie, destroy his phone to call his family on. The cat was trying to reduce his fear of the unknown. Him trying to call his family after that unsuccessfully on a payphone represents his desire to not want to go back. He doesn't want to go back, otherwise all of this would have worked. Neko trying to eat the mouse, I'm not too sure what that means. Yet again, the Judgment Boy arrives. We find out from Judgment Boy that...
Second grade. You and your friend are playing in the classroom after class. Smash! You've broken a very expensive vase. At that moment, the teacher walks in. So, what will you do now? Judgment! Now!
His friend broke down and left the school they were a part of. There was some more truth behind the protagonist's character that we just got dropped. We also learn in this scene that Gregory, the real main character of the story, happened to kill his mother over a piece of cheese that he wanted for himself. Judgment Boy turns on Gregory after he walks in on this whole scene. We come across two time-traveling clocks in this dream of his. The father clock has a son with a bloody nose. Both clocks say 1960, which I'm assuming is a year of significance. The father clock says the world is yours. The son has written on him, time is money. The bloody nose is a representation of emotional release. I'm assuming that is money related. The clock says that he has a warp in his time and that he's already in hell. It gets revealed that pretty much everybody is in hell in this show. They offer to bring him out of this situation by time traveling him before he enters the Gregory house. Instead, they bring him back to when he just started walking into the house after shouting,
Time is money!
Obviously, if this is a dream, they can't really take him past that point anyways. It gets explained that Gregory is the only character that already knows him previously after this, implying that the time travel stunt that was pulled, Gregory was obviously immune to. It gets implied that the rest of the story continues off like it had before previously, since obviously the main protagonist had to live through all of that again. We see a future predicting frog that it somehow predicted the existence of Skibidi toilets from the 1990s. I think the whole scene regarding the frog predicting Skibidi, the person in the toilet, and the protagonist getting sucked down was a metaphor for his life being an absolute shit show. The fortune frog predicted that Gregory would cry like a baby. Gregory walks down the hallway annoyed and hits his face on a floorboard. Gregory being there and crying, I'm not too sure what that means. Probably means his ego got stabbed, I don't know. But anyways, the next episode immediately goes from the toilet into a board game. The board game contains a lot of hazards and randomness. I believe the pathway in the game represents the path of life. The randomness of the various uses of the spinning wheel represents the wild and unpredictable fortune of life. Seeing Gregory always getting hurt is karma for his own selfishness. Gregory falling to his doom represents him probably dying in real life. The next episode features the protagonist inside of a roller coaster with Gregory. The roller coaster represents the path of unpredictability. Gregory being in the front of the roller coaster represents the protagonist's ego he chooses for himself in life. Heaven or hell written on the roller coaster results in the end of the ride. The fragments of lost souls in this episode and Gregory enjoying the hellish smell of it represents the protagonist's ego being parasitical towards other people. The penguins who are running the coaster and not trying to stop the ride after learning it will eventually stop and kill everybody on board represents others knowing what is going on but doing absolutely nothing to stop it. The coaster falling to its doom is literally how Greg and the protagonist entered the Gregory house to begin with. The next episode is about self-reflection of the protagonist's sense of self. The protagonist sees a hall of mirrors, but no reflection. A mirror with past, future, truth, and false written on it jumps out of the mirror to tell him why he can't see his reflection. He is Gregory and has been the whole time, yet somehow didn't realize it. He throws a chair at his reflection out of disgust, for he doesn't want to acknowledge it. He throws another chair at another mirror because he sees Gregory inside of it, talking back at him. He travels inside the mirror because there is a pathway behind it. There is an alarm going off with a bird and a safe with his heart inside of the safe. The safe is protecting his heart because of his own inner insecurities. The dream that the safe had about how he found his heart is basically a false awakening or false realization, because obviously he doesn't need to be insecure. The bird being green represents his heart center. Green is a spiritual color associated with the heart. The bird being a bird represents that it is a messenger to protect his feelings. Secret number on the bird's shirt. I don't really know what it means, but it could mean a lot. I just don't really know. It segments to his mother. His mother is revealed to be absorbing lost souls that they are unable to part with reality in order to achieve a long and bountiful life. She is immortal as long as she has souls. She is a parasitical, over-controlling narcissist just like Gregory. She's honestly a lot worse than Gregory, since Gregory isn't immortal from absorbing other people's souls, to my knowledge. The protagonist makes his way to the dream that the safe had about the false awakening. He comes across Judgment Boy yet again.
You're in high school and have a crush on a girl. You're alone together. The perfect chance to tell her how you feel. What are you going to do? Judgment now!
He reveals that he chose not to tell her and experienced negative consequences over it. The Judgment Boy allows him to continue to go through. A fork in the road appears in a hallway. The protagonist finds himself trapped because he took a bad turn. He sees Gregory on a bunch of monitors in a bunker. Then a dog appears. The dog represents impulse decision making. The dog decided to create a pathway out of the hallway to get out of the area. However, he could have just turned around. Because of the fact he took the wrong way, it is revealed that the dog is moody and will do as he pleases in the moment. He enters a graveyard trying to escape Greg. Greg can't find him because of him staying behind some gravestones. Gravestone represents a change in life. The protagonist hiding behind it is symbolizing him hindering that. He encounters a run-in with a skeleton alcoholic who wants his body. The skeleton represents loss or transformation, while the booze he is holding represents negative intent. The skeleton chases him back into Gregory's house, where the rest of the story does continue. Similar to Stockholm Syndrome, he decides to stay in the house, for it is easier to stay in the house than confront his own inner demons. Neko Zombie appears and tries to motivate him to get out of there. The dog appears again and actually tries to help him out, kind of. He goes into the door the dog creates and encounters the four Judgment Boys of the apocalypse.
They call me Judgment. Do you Judgment? Know who I am? Judgment. Judgment.
He sees God standing before him in golden yellow. He has the ability to walk past them with no issues and continues to walk past them after hearing them out. As previously explained, Gregory plans on telling him the truth.
You wanted to run away from reality, my friend. Remember, you yourself chose to come to this world.
Reality is far from paradise. It's nothing but a boring daily routine.
I am the part of your soul that longs for more. I'm the desires that you buried deep inside long ago.
Come on, he's going to catch up to you. If you want to sever your connection, I'll give you a hand, but make up your mind.
He sees Gregory flying past him like a lightning bolt ghost disguised as a mouse. When life kicks our butt, we are faced with a choice. We can be the victim or the hero of our own story. He explains that he is himself from his past. It is inferred that the protagonist is Greg's inner desires to do better in life. Ultimately, he asks the Grim Reaper. It gets explained that the main protagonist suffers from memory loss and extreme sadness after coming back into the real world. He can't live a life of his own, and he cannot seem to retain many of his own memories, as it is heavily implied. This is because whether you like it or not, you need your ego to live just as much as you need the ability to tell right from wrong. Otherwise, you just become a robot that has no thoughts of what you want for yourself. His issues weren't with Greg as much as his inability to find peace with Greg. That is when the story ends. We don't do things in life because they are easy. We do things in life because we thought they would be a lot easier than they actually are. If we didn't have SpongeBob in SpongeBob, who would Squidward get mad at? If we didn't have Squidward, where would the comedy be focused around? We need pain in life to strive to do things, but we don't need too much to a point where we are genuinely distressed. The big thing with this series is I do believe that's what the hidden message is of the last episode. Otherwise, he wouldn't have returned back to the Gregory house. Just some food for thought. I did like this series, I just thought it was okay. I thought it was too simplistic, but I do have a feeling, though my feelings will definitely change in the next upcoming seasons, and I am looking forward to doing this as a series. Thank you for watching, and bye.